name tend to not have a complete faith in chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachment even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve the desired success of Krishna Prema. Once again, I thank everyone for joining today's Bhakti Sangha conference call. Before we move on to Srimad Bhagavatam class, may I know who all joined this morning?
हरे कृष्ण मीता गंधरिका माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम शिला प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय प्रीतिदासी फ्रॉम शार्लोट हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna Preeti Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining every day, giving your sweet association. Welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna
हरे
Mataji.
कृष्ण
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. This is Yashamati Priya Devidasi from Chicago.
Hare Krishna Yeshumati Priya Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining every day and chatting so nicely. Welcome to the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, and all the glories to the assembled devotees. This is Manjri Leela Devidasi from Naperville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Manjari Leela Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining every day and chanting so nicely. Welcome to the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? Please go ahead. Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for joining in for chanting. And also yesterday I saw you in kids class also. Thank you so much Prabhuji for joining all the calls. Very grateful to you. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajis. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from Raleigh. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Krishna Kumari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining and giving your association. Welcome to the call Mataji. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Vrinda Gopika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving your association every day. Welcome to the call Mataji.
Hare Krishna Vrinda Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. This is Radha Pyari Devidasi from Baltic.
Hare Krishna Radha Pyari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining every day, giving your association. Welcome to the call Mataji. Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Keshavanand Prabhuji to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 15th chapter, 48 to 51 words. Before we hand over the call to Prabhuji, I would like to read the introduction of Prabhuji. His Grace Keshavanand Prabhuji was a professional doctor for many years and he is now practicing monk. Since last 20 years, he has conducted extensive research and authored books in field of science and spirituality. He feels the rift between the science and spirituality must disappear to bring peace in the world. If spirituality is a superstition and myth, science is materialistic and atheistic. A new approach of life is needed today that can bring the best of both. Science must re-embrace spirituality and be humble to admit its defects, flaws, and ignorance. And the spirituality must base itself itself on sound, scientific, and rational ideas. Keshavanand Prabhu has studied both Vedic and Western philosophy. Besides learning Sanskrit, he also learned Bengali, Gujarati, Marathi, and Kannada to know about other traditions. His persistence and endeavor in the field of science and spirituality has enabled him to come up with seminars on diverse topics like science and the Vedas, mind and machine. Science fails to explain life, consciousness, and beyond, etc. He has presented in various colleges in India, Europe, and America. Under the guidance of his spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami. He has also started a Gurukul, a traditional system of Vedic education in Punjab, India, where children learn the ancient Vedic culture and values. Besides, he has started a farm community. The community has a traditional way of living with. Oh, sorry, something came up on my screen. Traditional way of living with mud huts and huts roofs with cows and of course farming. The community will set a model for the world to show how to live a life based on the principles of simple living, high thinking. So is Prabhuji there on the call? Yes, thank you Prabhuji for joining. Thank you so much. Even the timings have changed. You are on time, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Keshavanand Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. Are you ready, Prabhuji? Prabhuji, you are
Yeah,
asking someone to read the puppet?
yeah. Please ask somebody to read the
Yeah,
Bhagavatam.
sure, Prabhuji. Induleka Mataji, please go ahead and share and please read for us, Mataji.
Mm,
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Canto 7, Chapter 15, text 48 through 51 today, 48 to 49. Himsram dravyammayam kamyam Agnihotrad ashantidam darshascha purnamasascha chaturmasyam pashusuta etat ishtam pravrittakyam hutam prahutam evacha purtam suralaya rama Kupajevyadi Lakshanam. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices known as Agnihotra Yajna, Darsha Yajna, Purna Masa Yajna, Chaturmasya Yajna, Pashu Yajna, and Soma Yajna are all symptomized by the killing of animals and the burning of many valuables, especially food grains, all for the fulfillment of material desires and the creation of anxiety. Performing such sacrifices, worshipping Vaishyadeva, and performing the ceremony of Baliharana, which are all supposedly constitute the goal of life, as well as constructing temples for demigods, building resting houses and gardens, digging wells for the distribution of water, establishing booths for the distribution of food, and performing activities for public welfare. These are all symptomized by attachment to material desires. Text 50 to 51. द्रव्यसूक्ष्मविपाकश्च धूमो रात्रिरपक्षया अयनं दक्षिणं सोमो दर्श ओषादिविरुधा अन्नं रेता इति श्मेषा पितृयानं पुनर्भव एकैकस्येनानुपूर्वं भूत्वा भूत्वेह जायते. Translation: My dear King Yudhishthira, when oblations of ghee and fire and food grains like barley and sesame are offered in sacrifice, they turn into celestial smoke, which carries one to successively higher planetary systems like the kingdom of Dhuma, Ratri, Krishna Paksha, Dakshinam, and ultimately the moon. Then, however, the performer of sacrifices descend again to earth to become herbs, creepers, vegetables, and food grains. These are eaten by different living entities and turned to semen, which is injected into female bodies. Thus, one takes birth again and again. Purport: This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 9:21. Tetam bhuktva svarga lokam vishalam shine punye martya lokam vishanti. Evam trayi dharmam anuprapanna gadagatam kama kama labhante. Kama kama labhante. When those who follow the Pravritti Marga have enjoyed heavenly sense pleasure, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, through the Vedic principles, they achieve only flickering happiness. Following the Pravritti Marga, the living entity who desires to be promoted to the higher planetary system performs sacrifices regularly, and how he goes up and comes down again is described here in the Srimad Bhagavatam as well as in Bhagavad Gita. It is also said Traigunya Vishaya Veda. The Vedas deal mainly with the three modes of material nature. The Vedas, especially the three Vedas, namely Sama, Yajur, and Rig Veda, vividly describe this process of ascending to the higher planets and returning. But Krishna advises Arjuna, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtraigunyo Bhavarjuna. One has to transcend these three modes of material nature, and then one will be released from the cycle of birth and death. Otherwise, although one may be promoted to a higher planetary system, such as Chandraloka, one must again come down. Shine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. After one's enjoyment due to pious activity is finished, one must return to this planet in rainfall and first take birth as plant or creeper, which is eaten by various animals, including human beings, and turned to semen. The semen is injected into the female body, and thus the living entity takes birth. Those who return to earth in this way take birth, especially in higher families, like those of Brahmanas. It may be remarked in this connection that even the modern so-called scientists who are going to the moon are not able to stay there, but are returning to their laboratories. Therefore, whether one goes to the moon by modern mechanical arrangements or by performing pious activities, one must return to earth. That is clearly stated in this verse and explained in Bhagavad Gita. Even if one goes to the higher planetary systems, Yanti Deva Vrita Devan, one's place there is not secure. One must return to Martya Loka. Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. Aside from the moon, even if one goes to Brahma Loka, one must return. Yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. But if one goes back home, back to Godhead, he need not return to this material world. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we'll begin. Om Jnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namah Namaste Saraswatdeve Gaurvani Prasad Vishesh Nava. So we are discussing these verses, and the central point of this verse is like quite a bit number of verses here. But the central point is translate kar sakte hain? हाँ, बैठ के. But the central point is that uh, it is explained by Prabhupada that Vedas are talking about material desires. Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport, isn't it? That Vedas are mostly dealing with fulfillment of material desires. Vedas mainly deal with three modes of material nature and describe the process of ascending to higher planets and then returning back. That is Pravritti Marg. So there are two margas, Pravritti Marg and Nivritti Marg. So Pravritti Marg means the path of enjoyment. And Nivritti Marg means path of renunciation. So both these paths are mentioned in Vedas. And the path of enjoyment doesn't mean unrestricted enjoyment. That means you restrict to enjoyment and simultaneously follow the Vedic rules and regulations. Like Prabhupada gives example. So gives example. You do yagyas, Agnihotra yagya, Baliharan yagya, Soma yagya, to, for example, to fulfill your desires like uh, Putreshti yagya, to gain a child, for example, like Janak Maharaj, they did Putreshti yagya. This, sorry, Dashrath Maharaj, they did Putreshti yagya so that they can get Ram, you know, Lakshman, Shatrughan, Bharat. So different yagyas are done to fulfill many material desires, and this is mentioned in Vedas. So why? Because Vedas want to actually help you um, elevate your consciousness and connect your consciousness to God. So yagyas are primarily meant to worship God, Vishnu. Yagyo by Vishnu, that Prabhupada says there. But simultaneously they are offering, uh, let's say, so they are giving you an offer. Okay, you can fulfill your desires, but fulfill your desires through Vishnu. So that is Pravritti Marg. Because most of the people, they want to materialize their material desires. They want their desires. And that's why they run to many temples and many demigods and many saints. So Veda says, okay, no problem, don't run here and there. Come to Vishnu. And we'll tell you a particular process. Follow this process, worship him, and your desires will be fulfilled. So all these people, they read Vedas and they want to elevate themselves to heavenly planets, for example, Karm Kandis and others. Others want to fulfill material desires on the earth. Others want to attain siddhis, perfections, and all of them. But the beauty is, all of them at least follow Vedas. They follow some rules and regulations in their life. At least they have some life in mode of goodness, and they worship Vishnu. So that's the advantage. So that is Pravritti Marg. For 90% people, Pravritti Marg is there. And 10% people, there is Nivritti Marg, path of renunciation. Manu Samhita says, Vairagyam tu Mahafalam. Pravrittim to Phalam, Nivrittim to Mahafalam. By path of enjoyment, you will get results. But a path of renunciation, you'll get greater results. So in Nivritti Marg, what you do, you renounce all material desires, and then you follow Vedic rules and regulations and worship Vishnu. So of course, these kind of people will be less, because Krishna says in Gita, Chaturveda bhajante mam. Four types of people come to me. Like people who are miserable, people who want money, people who are inquisitives, and people who are jnanis. These jnanis are Nivritti Marg. And the other three are Pravritti Marg. So that makes 25% population is Nivritti Marg, 75% is Pravritti. That's the broad calculation. In Kali Yuga, it might be like little here and there, like Nivritti Marg, it will be like maybe just 10%, 5%, and Pravritti Marg maybe 95%. That's how it goes. Maximum it will be like 25%. Nivritti Marg. Not much people will be interested in path of renunciation. That's the whole point. Most of the people will be interested in path of enjoyment, Pravritti Marg. So these two parts are mentioned in Vedas. Now, Vedas, so which one we should adopt? That's the question. So Prabhupada mentions here, Vedas mostly they recommend Pravritti Marg. All these yagyas and fulfilling material desires. And that's why Krishna says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraiguna Bhav Arjuna. Arjuna, Vedas are talking about three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, ignorance, fulfilling your desires according to your modes. But go above this. Now, there are many questions here, many confusions. If it might seem clear to you, but there are many confusions there if you apply little brain to it. The first confusion is why Vedas are offering Pravritti Marg. Why not just Nivritti Marg for everybody? Just like Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he preached all over the world. Mahaprabhu, all the Vaishnavas they came, they promoted pure devotion. Nivritti Marg ultimately leads to pure devotion. Nivritti Marg is pure devotion, by the way. Worshipping Lord without any desires. That's Nivritti Marg. So our Vaishnavacharyas just uh, they they propagated Nivritti Marg, that is path of devotion. They didn't talk about Pravritti Marg. So why is that? If in Kali Yuga most of the people are interested in material desires, then Pravritti Marg should be offered, path of enjoyment. But it's just contradictory. What is being preached is Nivritti Marg, path of renunciation. That's why Prabhupada went to America. He said, okay, leave all your material desires. Worship Lord Ahituki Apratiyata. Isn't it? Worship the Lord without any cause. And Apratiyata. Apratiyata means unmotivated. Prabhupada always unmotivated, unalloyed. So why our acharyas are offering such a path which people cannot follow? Isn't it? Most of the people, they are interested in their desires. And that's why they go to many gurus, blah, blah, blah. But our Vaishnavacharyas didn't say, okay, you can choose pravritti or nivritti. They said, no, devotion, that's pure devotion. Pure devotion in Vedas is called nivritti. So, why is that? It appears contradictory. Everybody understood the question? This question is important, otherwise, you not understand what I'm going to tell you. So, so the question is, I'll repeat, why our Vaishnavacharyas didn't offer Nivritti Marg to everybody? Oh, sorry, Pravritti Marg to everybody. If everybody in Kali Yuga are full of material desires, instead they offer Nivritti Marg, which is so difficult that you do pure devotion without any desires for Vishnu. This is almost impossible for people of Kali Yuga, which are completely bewildered by material desires, surrounded by material desires. Everywhere there are desires, isn't it? They're drowning on ocean of desires. So this question is handled in Srimad Bhagavatam, by the way. Bhagavatam begins with this question. Narad Muni, that's why he came to Vyasadev. Vyasadev, he wrote Puranas. And in Puranas, he gave Pravritti Marg, path of enjoyment. And he said, okay, you do this, you'll attain these desires, you do this, you'll attain these desires. Narad Muni came, he said, well, Vyasadev, you did a right thing in a sense that people will be allured by fulfilling material desires. They will be attracted to fulfill material desires. And in that way, they will follow scriptures, Vedas, and worship Vishnu. So that's okay. That is mentioned in Vedas. That is one of the tricks to bring people into uh, Vedic teachings and worship of Vishnu. But there's a problem. Uh, People of Kali Yuga, what they'll do is they will read your Puranas and they will accept Pravritti Marg, but they will be completely bewildered because they will think the purpose of Vedas and scriptures and the purpose of Vyasadeva is to help people to fulfill material desires. They will forget Vishnu. They'll not be interested in Vishnu. No, so Narada Muni told Vyasadeva, I can understand why you're doing this, because slowly when they will be worshipping Vishnu and their desires will be fulfilled, slowly they will leave their material desires and be attracted to Vishnu and come into Nivritti Marg gradually. As they worship Vishnu and their desires will be fulfilled, they will be attracted towards Vishnu. They will have faith in him and slowly they will enter pure devotion, nivritti marg. They will say, okay, why to fulfill desires? If I'm worshipping Vishnu, Vishnu is supreme, he is God, he will decide what is best for me. That intelligence will dawn upon them. And they'll switch over to Nivritti Marg. But Vyasadev, Narad Muni said that will not happen. That's not going to happen. That's because that's not going to happen because people of Kali Yuga are very dull, extremely less intelligent, stupid, and completely full of material desires. So they will keep on fulfilling their desires and never worship Vishnu with pure devotion. They will never switch to Nivritti Marg. That is what you wanted, but that will never happen. They will be entangled in their material desires. So Narad Muni said, this will not work. You do just the opposite. You give Nivritti Marg to everybody. Give them Nivritti Marg. Directly tell them, leave all your desires and come to Vishnu. And you write a book on that. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. Isn't it? Um, what's that verse? Uh, Bhagavatam second verse. Projeta
धर्म प्रोजित
Kaitavo.
कैतवो
Yeah. Dharma Projita Kaitavo Atra Nirmattaro Tatam. Dharma Projita. Bhagavatam begins with leave all cheating religions. Leave this Pravritti mark. This is what is happening in these verses, what we were reading just now. Come to leave Pravritti mark, come to Nivritti mark directly. And by that, what will happen is, Narada Muni said, you write a book like that, and that will be famous. Why? Why that will happen? Because people in Kali Yuga will be so frustrated fulfilling their material desires. They'll be completely frustrated because they'll try to fulfill their material desires, but that will not happen because they are unfortunate. And Kali Yuga is such full of so sinful environment that their desires will not be fulfilled because they don't have pious credits. So that's why they'll not be able to fulfill their desires. So they'll be frustrated, and in this frustration, they will go for Nivritti Marg. And by the way, that was hippie movement, isn't it? You don't need a saint to bring people to Nivritti Marg. Hippie movement was automatic. बैठे रहो, Prabhu. Hippie movement was that automatically they adopted for Nivritti Marg, isn't it? Hippie movement said, okay, leave. Uh, so that song was very famous. If you have heard that, we don't need no education. We don't need no education. You heard that song? It's a famous. You can hear on YouTube. We don't need no education. That's a beautiful song. So hippies rejected society. They said we don't want to fulfill any desires. We don't want success. We don't want money. We don't want this. We don't want parents. We want to renounce everything. Most of the philosophers in this age, Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, all of them, they themselves came to Nivritti Marg. They were completely frustrated by material world. So that was genius of Narad Muni. Narad Muni saw that Nivritti Marg is the only way. Pravritti Marg will entangle them and they will never come to Nivritti Marg. But Nivritti Marg, that is pure devotional service, renouncing desires and surrendering to God. That's the only way that people will take. And that is happening. You see Prabhupada all over the world. ISKCON is there. Devotees are there. Like people like us, like completely sinful, nonsense people who are completely interested in lust, anger, so many millions of desires, but now we are interested in path of renunciation, pure devotion. Why? Of course, mercy of Prabhupada, but at the same time, we Prabhupada showed us that your desires will be frustrated in this material world, especially in this age. So forget it. So we understood, and then we saw this word through the eyes of Prabhupada and Gita, and we saw, okay, my God, that's happening. So leave all this material desires business and surrender to Vishnu. Yeah, Pink Floyd. We don't need no education. It's a beautiful song, Pink Floyd. Yeah. You, yeah, you can also play on this forum. It's a I don't know. You can hear later. It's a very beautiful song. It was the song which actually um, promoted hippie movement. Like it was the song which gave boost to the hippie movement at that time. One of the most liked song by hippie movement. And so actually, this song fueled hippie movement beyond any like measures. So like that. So anyway, so yeah. So Narad Muni recommended this, gave this advice to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva took, and that's why he wrote Bhagavatam. And he clearly said it in the beginning: forget your material desires business. Forget worshipping Vishnu with material desires. Forget this Vedic path. Although Vedas give pravritti marg, yagyas, and all this, forget all these things. These are all not at all beneficial. Take to pure devotion. Leave all your material desires. Surrender to Krishna. Unmotivated, unalloyed devotion. Nivritti marg. He wrote a book like that. And that became famous in Kali Yuga. The most famous book. So, so that's so that was the first question, which is solved now. Why our Vaishnavacharyas, they offered Nivritti marg? Why not Pravritti marg in this age? That's a logic given by Narad. Now the second the second logic, the second question which comes to our mind is, having read this verses, Srila Prabhupada says Vedas generally mention um, fulfillment of material desires in modes of material nature. Generally. But then we hear in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaisya sarverahamiva vidya. Vedas speak only of Krishna. We hear this. The aim and object of Vedas is devotion to Krishna. So, Vedaisya sarver. Every statement of Vedas speak about Krishna and his pure devotion. Sarver aham eva vedyo. Eva means certainly vedyo. Vedas only speak about Krishna and vedyo and attaining him. So attaining him means by pure devotion. You can't attain Krishna without pure devotion, without nivritti marg. So survey means every statement. So then why we say that Vedas are talking about pravritti marg, material fulfillment of material desires, path of enjoyment? Why Vedas are saying that? That's now so that's a confusion, isn't it? Why Vedas are talking? Why do we say Vedas are talking about fulfillment of material desires? On one hand, we say that, but that appears contradictory to Gita, because Krishna says Vedas are talking about me and my pure devotion only. Eva, only. So what's happening? And Krishna also says Traigunya Vishaya Veda. Krishna himself contradicts his statement. Traigunya Vishaya Veda. Vedas are talking about three modes of material goodness, passion, and desire. That means Vedas are talking about material desires on one hand, and on the other hand, Krishna says Vedas are talking about only me and pure devotion. So Krishna is contradicting his own statements. One hand is saying Traigunya Vishaya Veda. Vedas are talking about Pravritti Marg. Other hand is saying Vedesha Sarverama Vedyo. Vedas are talking about Nivritti Marg. So what's happening? Only Nivritti Marg. There he says Vedas are talking only about Pravritti Marg. Only what is important. Eva. Traigunya Vishaya Veda. Traigunya Vishaya Veda. This is also Traigunya. Vedas are Gunya means Vedas are every statement of Vedas are absorbed and imbued with three modes of material nature. Trai Gunya in Sanskrit, if you see, Trai Gunya means every statement of Vedas, every sukta of Vedas are 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 dipped in three modes of material nature. They, they are they're just talking about fulfillment of material desires. That is Pravritti Marg. So this appears contradictory. Okay, fine. So everybody understood this question. This question is important, by the way. Very important question. Many Vaishnavacharyas, they raised this question and they handled it in various ways, in complex ways. But I'm going to give you a solution in a simple way. But if Krishna contradicts his own statements, then there's a problem because he's God and he should not contradict his own statements. He's perfect, but there's a contradiction. So what do you do with that? So the answer to this question is Krishna, he actually what he does is he's talking at two different levels, by the way. What he's saying is that okay, fine, Vedas are only talking about Pravritti Marg one way, one way. Another Vedas are only talking about Nivritti Marg. These two statements appear opposite, but actually that's not, because Krishna is saying Vedas are only talking about Pravritti Marg if you read Vedas superficially. On the other hand, later he says Vedas are only talking about Nivritti Marg if you read Vedas deeply. These two words have to be added, and then it solves the whole equation. If you read Vedas superficially, you will find so by superficially I mean if we read Vedas literally word to word and not in and not really in the depth of the words. You are just taking the verse of Vedas or Suktas, plugging in the dictionary meanings and taking out the meaning. That's all. If you do like that, then of course Vedas are only talking about Pravritti Marg. That is called explicitly. If you read Vedas explicitly, then Vedas are only talking about Pravritti Marg. But if you read Vedas implicitly means if you read Vedas in depth, if you don't just plug in dictionary meanings of the words, if you understand the bhava behind the words, if you understand the the connotations, the emotions behind the words, let's say, let me put it like that. You understand the emotions behind the words and then put the meanings, then you will find that Vedas are only talking about Nivritti Marg. That's called implicit meaning. So you see, that's how it goes. So this question is solved now. Krishna is not contradicting his own statements. Krishna is telling those statements on different levels. And it solves the whole equation. And it happens in our day-to-day life. So just like we say, so just like a mother might tell, my child is spoiled. He's taking drugs. He's going around with girls. He's not listening to us. Okay, one time she'll say like that to maybe to one of her friends or somebody. But on the other end, she might be talking to somebody else and she might be saying, my son is very nice, very intelligent, very good boy. Now you might think, come on, she's making two different statements. Why is that? Is she crazy? No. What she is saying that now my child is spoiled at present, but but actually he is very nice boy. But he's spoiled by association. That's what she means. Internally he's good, but at present he's spoiled. So you see the point. So when you scriptures might talk about many statements which are contradictory, but you can solve those contradictory equations not by deleting one statement, because no Vedic statement can be deleted. They are perfect. They are complete Purna. But they can be understood and adjusted by keeping them on different levels. That's how you harmonize. Tattu Samanvayat. That is one of the Vedanta sutras. Sutra Tattu Samanvayat. How to harmonize contradictory statement of Vedas. That is one of the topics of Vedanta Sutra, which comes in hermeneutics. That is taught to people who are reading Vedas. So that's how we solve this question. So this question is also solved. So it depends how you're reading Vedas, with what consciousness you're reading Vedas. That's the whole point there. If you're reading Vedas with the consciousness of material desires, then you will see Pravritti Marg everywhere. If you're reading Vedas with the consciousness of pure devotion, you will see Nivritti Marg everywhere. And that kind of meaning will come out for you, for the reader. So that's how this equation is solved, isn't it? So these are some questions which have to be handled properly. Otherwise, if you see, if you meet somebody, if somebody is reading Vedas, now I'll tell you some practical situations. If you meet some friend and he's reading Vedas, and he says, I'm reading Vedas. So you might say, oh, Vedas are nonsense. You see, Prabhupada says Vedas are talking about material modes and material desires. So leave Vedas and read Srimad Bhagavatam. You're completely wrong. It's not the point. The matter is how you read them. Vedas are not talking about material desires. Vedas are talking about material desires as well as pure devotion. Pravritti, nivritti, both simultaneously. So you can't derogate Vedas. You can't do that. If you meet a person who is reading Vedas, you can tell them, okay, you're reading Vedas, that's nice, but you can read Vedas more deeply, and then you will understand what is the message. Maybe you need a teacher, and if you don't have time to read Vedas, no problem, you can read Bhagavad Gita, because that's the summary of Vedas, and then you can continue reading Vedas. We have no objection in reading Vedas. That's very nice. If anybody can read, that's perfect. No problem. But if you're reading Vedas, and most of them will be reading translations will be mostly Pravritti Marg, very confusing. So, okay, Vedas are talking about pure devotion, we understand that. But first you have to read some easy thing and then go to difficult thing. Otherwise, you'll be reading only translations and getting confused, which are superficial. So, easy thing is Bhagavad Gita. That's why Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. Krishna didn't speak Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam to replace Vedas. That's complete crazy nonsense. Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam to actually append Vedas, to actually help us to read Vedas properly, to understand the message of Vedas properly. If at all you want to read Vedas, if at all you have time to read Vedas, first of all, you have no problem. So what's that verse? Vedyam vastavam vastu atra. Nigama kalpatar or galitam. No, Nigama means Vedas. Bhagavatam is giving the ripened fruit of Vedas. Bhagavatam is not saying that we are giving you a fruit which is born from sky, and you have to put Vedas on the side, because Vedas are talking about material desires. You don't want to talk about that. No, ripened fruit of Vedas. That's what Bhagavatam is talking about. So that's how it goes. These two questions are important in these verses. I think I'll stop here because and I want to give you time to think and ask some questions. These are very difficult topics which I have explained in very simple manner, as simple as what I could. But now, if there are any questions, you can ask me. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful class again. So very nicely, you were repeatedly asking about everything, whether you understood the question. Yes, Prabhu, as you said, which was explained by Narada, the Pravriti mark, whatever they do, they still get entangled in this material world. They will not come out of this. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for explaining that. Dear devotees, do you have any questions or realizations? Please go ahead.
No, we don't. Sorry.
Yes, Parth Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I want to ask the conversation you mentioned in the lecture about between Narad Muni and Vyasdev. I want to ask it in a practical sense. Like I have seen in preaching when we meet people, even I heard devotees that when we meet people, they say they have some desire to fulfill. Like for example, when we meet students, they say they want to top or etc. Like they want to top in their exam, they want to fulfill their parents' desire. So we tell them to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra with a motive that they at least begin chanting the mantra. So is it really wrong to say that? Because indirectly, is it not a pravritti mark that we are giving them? Like we are
But
telling
I don't.
they also.
I don't tell them like that.
I have like what I have heard from devotees and what I have heard. I just want to ask it. So
No. So what do you tell them? What they tell them?
no, actually, this when I my seniors they tell uh, that you tell them that the motive is that you start that they will at least start chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and then slowly they'll come in bhakti, and then we will tell
So
them the right principle.
no.
So if
So what's the wrong? What's the wrong principle? You tell them to chant Hare Krishna. So what wrong you are telling?
wrong is that they are having some material desire, no? Like
Oh,
for
so
supposing
you're telling them you chant Hare Krishna and then your material desire will be
yeah
fulfilled and then
yeah
slowly you will. That's completely
yeah
wrong. It's crazy stuff. You should not
okay.
tell like that. That's crazy. That's what Bhagavatam begins, bhai. Vyasadeva begins that Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is written. That's why he wrote the question. Because if you tell them and then slowly you will tell them, no, then your desires, okay. So what do you tell them later? We told you a lie that your desire
uh
will be fulfilled. How do you change that?
actually yes yeah
So
actually I like
then
after
that's
hearing this
crazy, no?
lecture I get this I mean the idea that it is actually wrong. So I was
Yeah,
asking.
yeah, it's wrong. It's crazy stuff which is happening. Should not happen.
And so, Prabhu, like one more practical situation I want to ask. Even for collecting donations, we do this stuff. Like, for suppose there are some people that don't want to donate directly on the name of some spiritual activity, but they donate on the name of something material activity that they see they get benefit out of something. For example, they want to donate for feeding poor and etc. And we collect donation on the name of it. So, is it also wrong?
Of course, that's happening everywhere, but Prabhupada never did it, and no Vaishnavacharya did it. So why we are doing, I can't myself understand. It's crazy.
Okay. Okay, bro. So, and last thing, if this is happening and if we are senior, because they are seniors, so how do we convey?
Don't ask, just keep your mouth shut. That's all.
Okay, fine. Prabhuji, can you share this conversation between Narad Muni and Vyasdev? Like, where does it come?
Come on, that's in first canto, no? Bhagavatam begins with that. Read that first canto, you'll find it.
On Bhagavad Gita, I have not started Bhagavatam. Okay,
Bhagavatam.
okay, Prabhu.
Mhm.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Preeti Vilasini Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Very, very nice class. Very nice clarifications about the Vedas and the Pravriti and the Nivriti mark. I did have a question from the purport where Srila Prabhupada mentions that whenever the soul passes in the Pravriti Mark, he goes to the higher planetary system, and of course he comes back in the form of crops, and then that is eaten via rain. The crop is formed, and then the man eats it. So there was a question asked earlier by another devotee, and we were trying to find the exact answer, so thought of asking you for help. The question asked is, do all the souls come into the human body only through this way? That is, the souls who are taking rebirth, irrespective of whether they went to Swarga or any other loka, higher plan, lower.
Yeah. Every soul has to come through Anna.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. That was the question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Devotees, do you have any more questions? We can see the chat.
Okay.
Prabhuji, there is a question in the chat. Srinivas Prabhu is asking, Prabhu, the pious soul come to this material world in the form rain. Okay, that is the same question I think Mataji asked now.
Okay.
To this material in the form of rain and convert into herbs, man eats, Brahmana family, how the sinful comes into this material world.
Same. I answered no same.
Same, right? Okay, fine. So then I don't see any more hand raise. Yeah, one hand raise is there. Tijil Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I had one question. In almost every Vaishnava Sampradaya, like there is one Sukta, Sri
You
Sukta,
had
every
no. Dilesh Prabhu, not had. I have one question.
I have one question.
Not had. English is
Hanji.
very poor here. Everybody's asking something. And yeah.
Okay. I have one question that in almost every Vaishnava Sampradaya, they sing Sri Sukta, which ends with Dhanyam Dhanam Bahuputra Labho. Like you would get Dhan, you would get Bahuputra Labho, everything. If every Vaishnava Acharya wanted to establish Nivritti Marg, then why are they chanting such suktas which are promising Dhanyam Dhanam Bahuputra Labho, etc.? Sri
No,
Sukta is
because
sung in every Vaishnava Sampradaya.
no, but Sri Sukta, but that's not in Vedas, no.
Sri Sukta is in Yajur Ved, it comes.
No. The Falashruti is in Vedas.
Yeah,
The
isn't it
Falashruti,
like
what they are
it
saying.
ends with Dhanyam Dhanam? Even in Narayan Sukta, it comes like Sa Sayujya Apnoti. You would attain Sayujya with Narayan.
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm telling you. If you read superficially, you will find everywhere Prabhirti Marg. But if you read deeply, then Dhanyam and Putram. So what that means? What that means
Dhanyam
from a
Dhanam
context of Dhanyam, Dhanam, Bahuputram. So Bahuputram, what that means? Bahuputram means many disciples.
Yeah.
Prabhupada said, I have so many sons now, isn't it? And daughters. And what is Dhanam? That is love of God. And what is Dhanyam? That is food for soul. That is ras, taste in devotion. So that's how we translate Vedas, and it talks about pure devotion.
Okay. Even like what about the Narayan Sukta where it is saying Sa Sayujya Apnoti. You would attain Sayujya with Narayan. Like and devotees in Sri Vaishnava, almost all Vaishnavas chant Narayan Sukta while Abhishekam and everything.
Yeah,
So why do they are
Sayuje,
saying?
Sayuje have many meanings. No, Sayuje means you become one with God, but one in love with God. That we understand.
Okay.
So that has to be
So this
translated.
is Vedas.
That's why I told. If you read Vedas deeply, then you will find Nivritti Marg. Superficially, it's all Pravritti.
Okay. Even when Bhishma Pitama is glorifying Bhagwan in the end of Vishnu Sahasranama, he is saying, Vaishyam Dhan Samruddhaya Kshatriyo Vijayi Bhave. So, is Bhishma Pitama also
No, even
superficially?
why did you go to Bhishmatama? Even Gita, Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna Partho Dhanudhara, Tatra Shri Vijay or Bhuter, Ruvani Karmatarama. So then what's happening? Gita is a book of pure devotion. Why this nonsense words externally? You know, you'll get Shri, you get money, you'll get success. But that's not the meaning we know. Prabhupada translates that as fame. But we understand that Shri doesn't mean money. Shri means beauty, beauty of our character. Success means success over birth, that disease, old age.
Okay.
Niti means morality. Morality means good qualities which are in Krishna. That's how it goes.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Vani.
Thank you, Prabhu. We have one more hand raise also.
Yeah.
Dr. K. Babu, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dr. K. Babu from Chandigarh.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I listen often to your lecture in your YouTube channel. I am also a doctor, but it is very difficult for doctors to become good devotees and saints because science has a tough effect on us. Now, can you just explain how you are able to such deeply realize these scriptures? If you can give
No, nothing
help.
is deep. It's like my understanding is very superficial. It's nonsense. They have, this question is irrelevant. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. We have more hand raised, Prabhu. Do you have time?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, Sindhurao Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for a beautiful class, Prabhu. I'm still contemplating on what you said, and I just want to put it together in a way that I can maybe what I understand. So, starting, if I take the Dharma Prochita Kaitava Dharma, and when Narad Muni says you're giving them the Pravritti mark, and he says you have to give them the Nivritti mark, that means the Vedas are only talking about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, right? But the essence is, and when we come to Bhagavad Gita and you are kind of reconciled how Krishna says Vedes Chaya Aham Vedyo, that means I'm Veda. So that cannot be wrong. So the essence of all this is that we are murkhas. We are looking at Vedas for Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. The Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha can be used, and the proper use of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha is Bhakti, which we did not realize in the Vedas, and that's why we took to the Pravritti mark. Is that correct? For example, I do some yagnas to get money. From that money, my kamana should be to do more spirituality, but I use it on myself. Right?
But that's, you see, that is actually less than pure devotion. That is not exactly pure devotion because Bhagavatam says projahita. Leave dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Don't be interested in this. Don't use them in service of God.
Okay.
If it is required absolutely, then you do. Otherwise, just leave them. Just come to pure devotion. Just worship Vishnu without any desire. Don't do yagyas for fulfillment of any material desire. Do yagya only to please Vishnu. That was his idea. So what you are suggesting is something in between pravritti and nivritti. Okay, you fulfill your desires, but then use it in service of Krishna. But that is not to be done in routine cases.
Okay.
At least for us, because people have done that. Chitraketu, he asked Vishnu that I should become Gandharva. That was a material desire. But he used it in service of God. But if we do like this, then what will happen is we'll forget service of Krishna and we'll be entangled in money.
Okay.
Slowly we'll forget a goal. That's not really recommended.
I see. So, we do follow the Bhakti Marg, Bhakti Yoga, and we give up all these kamana. But how do we reconcile that Vedas is also Krishna only? We just understand that the Vedas, the essence, the conclusion of the Vedas is Krishna, but we don't have to really go there and start researching that. We still stay in Bhakti Yoga? Is that the essence? When you gave the second question, the first question was very clear, but when you gave the second question, it kind of messed up. So, Vedas, the conclusion, the essence of Vedas is Krishna. Leave it at that. We don't have to go back and research and try to, understand that, because Krishna has given us an easy form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Is that the
Yeah,
understanding?
you can leave it at that. Of course, you can leave it at that. Definitely.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if you really want to read Vedas, I mean to say, I want to read them because because Vedas are actually praising Lord in a very unique ways.
I see.
And I mean to say, we can read infinite number of praises of God, isn't it? We want to praise God, but we don't know how to do that. So Bhagavatam, so many praises are there.
Mm.
It's a personal choice. So if I want to go to Vedas, and especially if you're a preacher, then you meet so many people, and they might so just like they ask question about Narayan Sukta and this Sri Sukta. So if I would have no knowledge of that, then how can I explain? So ordinarily, you can leave it at that, not required. But if you're a preacher, and if you want to become a good preacher, not just a so-called preacher, okay, no required, no, not Vedas requires. So somebody will ask, Prabhuji, should I read Vedas? Nonsense, it's an offense. People speak like that, no Vedas, only Bhagavatam, Dharma Projata. It's a crazy stuff to speak like that, because other sampradayas, they feel, we don't have any understanding. So we read and then we see, then we can match. Okay, okay, fine. Pravritti externally, nivritti internally, and how that's happening. That's also interesting, isn't it? To people, at least to me, intellectuals, how one sukta is talking externally about pravritti, but internally about nivritti. So if you're inquisitive, you can read, and if you want to preach worldwide, but otherwise it's not required.
Okay. I really liked one point that you made. It really struck me, Prabhu, is that when you said, I want to read the Vedas because it is glorifying the Lord. Now I understand what you're trying to say. Come into Bhakti Marg, understand that properly, get established, completely get rooted in Bhakti Marg, and then when you go and read the Vedas, it makes sense because you're seeing Krishna in everything. That is what I take away.
Absolutely right. Yeah. That you got it.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. This was very eye-opener. Thank you so much. And please give your association again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. We have right hand raise of Rashmi Mataji. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. I wanted to understand what is the right way to approach a person who has material desires, and we want to introduce them to the process Prabhupada has set up. So how will you approach them and introduce the Maha Mantra, since they are trying to fulfill some of the material desires and you wish them to come to Bhakti?
Well, tell them all material desires are nonsense. You should have a convincing power, no? That's what we are there. We're learning from Prabhupada. See, these material desires are wrong. If you are more courageous, you can say you're rascal. Prabhupada told like that in public. Because you want to fulfill material desires, it will not help you in any way. Leave all those, surrender to Krishna. Let him take care of you. You don't ask anything from him. And if you want to put it more nicely, you can say, don't ask anything from God. Just surrender to him. Let him decide what is best for you. If you buy a tiny brain, we think what is good for me, this small things, material desire, that will not be good. We will spoil we are experimenting with our lives. So you see, we have to tell directly, otherwise there's no point of preaching. And for that, we should have a lot of conviction, and we should be able to convince them. That's the whole point there. That's what we are there in this movement, and we're learning from Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Again, Tejal Prabhu, do you have a question or?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I have as you just said that we should have the convincing power, but those people then again argue, as you many times mentioned in your lecture, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, for preaching, he allowed foreigners, Britishers to come inside the temple with shoes and eat meat over there. So they might say that for preaching, Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada allowed foreigners to eat meat. So why can't we allow them? Why can't we law people with
This is
material
wrong.
desires?
Come on, what you are comparing with? That was a very exceptional case. That was exceptional case, and if you look historically, that was completely required because they were like kings of India. He invited the mayor of East India Company, so he couldn't have done otherwise. So he didn't have any other option. But he was not doing it regularly. So this was not his norm. So people who say like that, they are completely wrong in that context. It has to be done in some exceptional case, exceptions in exception. That's all. And only people like Bhakti Siddhanta can do like that. Even those things. This is like quite outrageous, isn't it? Coming in temple with shoes, and I mean to say, let alone that he allowed eating meat in the temple. We can't even dream of doing such things. So if you want to do something, then do such things. Go with your friends, invite your friends in the temple and eat meat in front of altar. Then it's okay. Then I'll be okay. With you. But we quote such examples and then we say, okay, we will come to Krishna consciousness, fulfill your material desires because Bhakti Santa did. He adjusted the situation, so we can also adjust the situation. That's complete crazy comparison. Doesn't happen like that.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. And next time, if I would come across such arguments, I would use your statements only.
Yeah. Okay, we'll end up
Thank
here.
you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your valuable time.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice question and answer, and actually very nice topic today also. Thank you so much once again from all of us. Devotees, let's pay our obeisances to Prabhuji.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai. His Grace Keshavanand Prabhuji
Prabhuji
ki
ki
jai.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna, Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna.